I am so excited to have Janet Van Wyck here with me today. As you guys heard, she has made this transition from corporate to multi-level to now business coach. And Janet, thank you so much for joining me today. This is so exciting.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to hear everything that you're going to share about tips to thrive as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I can tell you personally, I am that multi-passionate entrepreneur. I am that person that has so many different passions. And sometimes it gets a little bit foggy. I don't know what to focus on. And people will tell you to cut back and only do one thing. But there's so many things that I really like. So I am eager and excited to talk to you to find out how to take all that energy and create something really good and thrive as an entrepreneur. So before we get into that, I have to ask you, what even got you interested in figuring this out? I'm taking it you are a lot like me, that you also had a lot of multi passions that you were trying to juggle.
I had a lot of things that I started and did not finish, and
Mm,
that didn't sit well with everybody else. So,
interesting.
a
Yes.
multi-passionate individual is a collector of information. And as they're collecting information, they get really excited with it and they throw themselves into it 150%. We kind of get our dopamine hit every time we enter a new area that excites us. And it's really hard to have somebody constantly saying to you that you have to focus on only one thing, or putting you a soft put down, like calling you squirrel girl, or you suffer from shiny object syndrome, or
Mm.
while in the appearance of it might be that, in true fact, we are a collector of information and we're needed in society because we are the people who break it down into simple form and shovel it out to everybody else.
Yeah, I love hearing that because it's like, oh my gosh, finally somebody is speaking my language. I will tell you, when I am a serial entrepreneur and I went through as a single mom in survival mode. Actually, probably even as a teenager, I have always tried different businesses and launched something new. And the one question I absolutely, it wasn't even a question, the one comment I absolutely hated was, "So what are you doing now?"
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" Like,
Yeah.
and they weren't trying to be rude,
No.
but I interpreted it, and I'm not saying that they were rude by asking that, right? I gave them every reason to probably ask that question, but internally it felt like you're failing, like
I
you're jumping
know.
around too much, you're flighty, and you need to be more stable, and it stung every time I heard that.
So my answer to them was always, and so you're still doing the same thing?
I never thought of that. That would have been perfect. I wish I
I
would have
could
thought
never
of
do
that.
that.
That is great. That's great. So how did you realize that it's okay to have all these passions? I mean, what was that aha moment for you?
Well, I think for me, first of all, I got tired of people telling me that I couldn't do things my way. I see myself more of an innovator because I do have this multi-passionate tendency and I jump forward to see what's coming up. And I didn't understand why other people couldn't see things the way I did. And then I began to understand the different personality types. And when I jumped into branding and was constantly hearing coaches saying, you really have to niche down, you have to have one thing, you have to talk to one thing, and you talk to the problem solution offer, and that's what your content is about, it seemed very 2D to me, very two-dimensional. And what I focus on as a branding coach is making sure that you're 4D, that you have such an amazing personality that people are drawn to you. And the only way to do that is to be revealing other parts of your personality. And so I use those other passions and we group them and we see which ones kind of fit together to create a really enriched brand that relates to your problem solution offer. That way it keeps 4 or 5 of the other things that seem to pull multi-passionate off track because she's tired of doing one thing. And it gives her the ability to address it on a consistent basis, included in her branding, personality and voice, and keep herself satisfied, her own personal traits satisfied, but use it to attract people to get to engage with her, so that then they're there available to listen to her problem solution offer.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, it's not so much that for example, I'm a multi-passionate person. And I know who I'm speaking to. I can
Mhm.
still speak to that particular audience, but I don't have to dim my light.
Yeah.
It's okay for me to be authentically who I am and talk about all my passions, and the ideal client will still come for me.
You will begin to attract a larger audience. And I'll give you an example of myself. I'm on TikTok with my full personality.
1 second, hang on. I'm gonna
That's okay.
I'll probably edit this out, but my pest guys it came and
That's
he's
okay.
gonna bark.
That's
It'll be
okay.
edited out, I promise.
That's okay. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Mm-hmm. Go away. Go see Daddy. Yeah, I have nothing for you.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Oh, that's not a problem.
Oh, this rarely happens. You're supposed to call before they come.
That's
Our
okay.
gate's locked. Okay, so
Okay, so I
will
will
edit that up.
pick right up.
If you know exactly, yeah, at the beginning of
Yeah.
a sentence, I can cut that and start.
Yep. Okay, for example, I'm on TikTok, and we know that I am a branding coach and a content strategist for multi-passionate female entrepreneurs over 50. That's what my business is. But on TikTok, I bring the full load of what my passions are. I have a very strong, ageless, and amazing following, which means anybody over 50 looking how their health, their fitness, their makeup, what do I eat, what is my mindset towards living vibrantly over 50, that type of thing. I'm very creative, so a little bit of art, health and fitness. So all of that. And I throw in small business that over 50, the reality is you're probably going to have to continue working. Your retirement income isn't going to be enough. And whether you are going to work for somebody else or you're going to work for yourself, there are some really important things to consider. And I get into the mindset work, and that everybody can have a business. So I'm beginning to extend my business knowledge to them and get them curious enough to go into my bio and jump over to my website. But the full of TikTok, a lot of it is mindset about aging, makeup, and just how to live healthy, because that brings in 4 areas of my passions, and that
First off,
develops a full presence, right?
yes, and I just got to give you props, right? Because I'm over 50 as well, and I have dabbled in TikTok with every intention to go full force, but you're doing it, and
I'm
I
kidding.
am like, totally props to you. That is awesome.
I have
When it
about
was
1,000 videos there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then when I was creeping on your website, I saw that you did actually break down to 4 different passions that you have. And over 50 was one of those passions, and I
Yeah.
am like, love it. I absolutely love it. Like now I mean, not that you weren't speaking to me before with everything, because I love mindset and obviously I love business, but the over 50, I was like, yes,
It's
go
huge.
girl. I love it.
It is huge now. We are on our second, and what I feel is our true career path when you reach 50.
Mhm.
Because before that, you are meeting your obligations. You are working because you have to. You developed strengths and skills based on the jobs that you were slotted into, which has helped you to become who you are now. But now you get the opportunity to take a look at what really are my interests. How does that couple with my strengths and my passions? And what can I do with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
That yes, I love it. That's so true, and I even said that earlier in this conversation that in the beginning, I was in survival mode. You
Yeah.
know, I was doing what I needed to do, and now I'm not in survival mode. Now I'm an empty nester, and I get to be picky, and I love what I do right now. I absolutely love it, and I'm grateful I get to do that, and you're right, I do see more women over 50 that have that opportunity. So how did you figure out what
It
your 4 passions are? Because it sounds easy to do,
isn't.
but it's really not. So how
It
did you
isn't.
do that?
Well, first you have to realize that there are 3 different types of passions. And
Oh,
people have a tendency, at least I categorize it that way. People have a tendency to say, "Oh, I'm really passionate about this thing. You should do a business with it." And the danger with that is if you're picking the thing that you use to reduce your stress as your business model, then you have nothing to relieve the stress of being in business. So I say 3 passions are you have your pastime passion, the thing that you do to be with everybody and enjoy, joke around and have fun. You have your pleasure pastime, which is the thing that really stokes you, the thing you look forward to getting at once a week and really working on. And that's the thing that people make the mistake of using as their business. This is the thing where you truly de-stress, where you can go and just know that the day was really tough, but when I do this, it's just going to make me feel better and relax me. And then you have the passion that is connected to your purpose in life. And that is the passion that you use for your business.
okay.
Once you identify those, you can take a look at, okay, what are all the things that I'm interested in? And that's part of my coaching model is in developing your branding personality. We go through a process of let's list everything that you can think of that you're passionate about. Now, a multi-passionate woman might come up with 10, 15, possibly 20 things that she feels I could get up and talk to you for an hour, no problem, and be really excited about it and be really knowledgeable. But as you look at those things, we're able to then group them into 4 or 5 main categories. When we get those categories and we identify which one relates closely to what you feel your purpose is, we are then able to bring them together to develop that full brand online influencer personality and keep you firing all of your I'm trying to relate it to a car and it's
Yeah,
very
right.
tough one
I'm not good at
firing. And
cards
it still satisfies you, but it still leaves you things that um, when all is said and done and you have to step away from business, you have something to do that still feeds that fire to
Right.
distress you. So we kind of approach it that way.
I have never thought about that before. And you're giving me an aha moment right now because I've always thought of like, what are you passionate about? And it's all those things that I love, like you initially said when you start working with someone. I never categorized it or thought that if you put your passion as your business, things that help you relax, your pastime, I think is
Yeah.
what you called it, your
Yeah.
pastime passion as your business passion, then you never have that outlet.
You never have the outlet.
Never did I consider that. But
There's another thing that you look at when you're trying to decide which business is perfect for you, and that's what I call your default mode. There is something that everybody has that they do, and it usually annoys other people because they do it nonstop, whether they're sick or tired, whether they're happy, whether it's wanted or not. And for me, it's problem solving because I see things from so many different perspectives that I would hear a conversation in line at the grocery store, 3 or 4 people behind, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night problem solving, not ever being able to provide any kind of input to that person. But it's just what I do because I have the ability to be separate and apart and view things from so many different points of view, which is kind of what led me into coaching.
Yeah.
So that's my default mode.
I love it. Yes, and I do the same thing. Have you ever taken your strengths test?
I have taken different ones and they've
Okay.
given me different input, but the one that I found most related to finding my influence was what's called the fascination assessment. And
Okay.
it's by Sally Hogshead. And it evaluates the voice that you speak with that attracts people. And for me, it was passion and innovation.
Oh, I like
And
that.
it explains how you use them and how it is your strengths and how to marry it into your conversations with people. That one meant the most to me because the rest of them would tell me more what my skills strengths were,
Mhm.
which were organization and communication and all of these different things that I had developed over the course of my needed career.
Okay.
But it never really assessed who I was, who I was coming across as, how people were receiving me. And this strengths test did provide that information, and it meant the world to me. It kind of set me off on the path that I took.
Yeah, I bet. I like tests that evaluate your personality. I mean, my degree's in psychology, so
Okay.
I love all that. If you do you ever get a chance to take the strengths test it's through Gallup poll?
Yes. Clifton Strengths.
It's yes,
Yes.
yes. It
Yeah.
it is really interesting as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I love it. I love what
And
you
I've done the high five, and I've done look.
yeah, there's so many. There's so many. We all wanna know who we are, right?
Who
We all
are
wanna
we?
know, are
Yeah.
we normal or are we not? And
Exactly.
that's why all these different tests, personality tests exist.
And it's
So
interesting that we look externally to find out who we are, which is why I have people look internally to find out who they are.
yes. So
Yeah.
when you started working with your clients and you're helping them really uncover where their passions fall and how they can use that to thrive in their business, what's the biggest obstacle that you see or that you hear from them?
The willingness to trust and
Ooh,
change.
elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, they invest in themselves in time and money. And we go through the process of how to create your online presence and influence. And they understand and they agree. But when they leave, they're hesitant to jump into it and actually do it because they are so used to doing things the way that they've always done it. And there are so many other people telling them to do it differently
How do you
because they
overcome that?
don't clue into you're not the same person as what everybody else is coaching. You're a very different personality. And it's that very thing, that very multi-passionate tendency that everybody else uses to tamp you down so that you're not your full self. That's going to get lost by doing it the way everybody else is doing it. Or you're going to be so fractured. Like up until discovering how to pull it all together, I was the makeup lady. I was the oil lady. I was the skincare lady. I was the business coach lady. I was and it just went on and on and on. And we were all separate identities. My personality was still there, but I had to find the underlying um, thing, the underlying passion, which wasn't in my everyday life. And that was the realization that at 50, I'm 65. So at over 50, you're barely halfway through your life if you begin to take care of yourself. And because of that very real fact, you can't really afford to retire at 65. At least you can't retire your mind because you have another 40 years that you have to feed this amazing brain of yours.
Yes.
And if you sit down and retire, you're going to invite your early permanent retirement,
Right.
right? So you need to discover, what is it that keeps me passionate? What is it that I want to do now? How can I use it to potentially get another stream of income and be totally thrilled with what's going on in your life?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that kind of tied it all together for me.
So when you first started doing this, or when your clients are doing this,
Hmm.
does it how do you keep that focus? Right?
Uh,
Because you are all those things. And I will tell you that your website really kept you on point and focused.
oh,
That's
thank you.
not easy to do because you've got these different buckets, as you explained it. So
Okay.
how do you
So,
package it and make it look so pretty like you did?
so take a look at, I migrated my branding. I chopped it up into a la carte. So each one of those carts actually identifies a little specific area of passion for me, because I have a passion for teaching people how to get their online social media identity to be consistent throughout. And what do you do and what do you put? So that is one bucket. One is your content strategy, which is exploring all about you and figuring that out. One is just going through discovering your passions. These hit different interest buckets for me, so it keeps me in the same thing. The brand identity is in my creativity wheelhouse,
Mhm.
right? The brand expression, which is what we're talking about with the interest, hits me in the living 50 plus women in business. When we're also going identity, we talk a little bit about your colors, because I'm not a logo brander. I'm not that type. We still take a look at who you are, not trying to fit into somebody else's model and how that's going to come across. So there's a little bit of that built into it.
Mhm.
So I kind of I, I touch it
Yeah, you do.
in every aspect. But then if I get into a coaching situation that isn't feeding that, I always have my TikTok that I can return to and address those things there.
So that TikTok is more of your fun.
TikTok is, you have to have a social media platform that draws people in, right? I mean, um, whether it's a podcast or a blog or YouTube or whatever, is off social media. But
Mhm.
then you have to go to social media to draw people in. You need
Mhm.
one. And that's where your full brand personality shines. It's like the top of the funnel where you where you pull a lot of people in and you keep them interested for specific things, and you narrow them down to the people at the bottom. As they come through my TikTok, they get curious about me. They go into the bio and into the link and they see, oh, she's got a freebie. Oh, she's got a website. Let's go over to the website and see what she's about. And then the people who are interested in that will reach out a little bit further, and we get a conversation going.
Awesome. So you mentioned your freebie. So
Freebie.
let's talk about that. Your freebie is an ebook, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and it's Tips to Thrive as a Multi-Passionate Entrepreneur.
5 tips to thrive as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Yes.
Awesome. So who should download that ebook or go over there and grab their free copy?
You know, I specialize in the multi-passionate, but it really applies to anybody because it gives you permission to be yourself. It
Mm,
gives you some direction. My coaching applies to women over 50 in business. What I like to do when I'm talking is always give a twist for the multi-passionate. So there's the rule of thumb, and then because you're multi-passionate, this is how it works for you.
okay.
So
Yeah.
that is kind of like my underlying secret sauce.
Right. Well, it sounds good. And like I said, I could totally relate to what that's like. So if anybody is listening, you've got to head over to Janet Van Wyck's website and get your copy of 5 Tips to Thrive as a Multi-Passionate Entrepreneur. And her website links, all her social media links are in the show notes. So absolutely check her out. talk to her, consult with her. If you are multi-passionate and you're feeling confused and overwhelmed because you have all these passions and people are just trying to really dim your light, and you feel that frustration, or you feel flighty the way that I felt flighty, or that you had to pick one area, I encourage you to reach out to Janet and talk to her and let her coach you through how to really uncover those passions and thrive as an entrepreneur. But Janet, before we go, I've got one question for you.
Sure.
So, what is one piece of advice that you've received that has made a difference in your business?
Trust yourself, because you know what you are able to do better than anybody else.
Oh, that's good advice.
And that's because people look at what you are doing through their filters, through their experience, through their fears. So trust yourself and believe in yourself.
That's really, really good advice. And that's so hard to do, but
It really is.
so important to do. Janet, thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me and to share your knowledge with my audience. And just thank you. I look forward to checking out that book too.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we will catch you next week. We'll see ya.